In my last video, I gave you 3 phrases to save a failing high ticket sales call. And at the end of that video, I made you a promise. I told you that coaches who rarely need a rescue phrase are those that have a system in place, a process to clear any objections before the investment conversation even hits the table. Today, I'm keeping that promise. This is the method that I've been using and teaching for over 25 years, and it is incredibly powerful in high ticket sales because it's not just about handling objections, but it is about surfacing them before they can derail the conversation. Most coaches and consultants treat sales calls like presentations. They will tell them what their offer is, they will discuss the investment, and then they wait and see what happens. And when objections come up, they react. That is a reactive sales conversation. And reactive conversations put you at a permanent disadvantage because you end up having to respond to something that you didn't even see coming. What I teach is a proactive sales conversation, one that systematically ensures that every hesitation, every objection, every but what if actually is surfaced before price ever comes up. So that when the investment conversation happens, the only thing left is whether the money works. The 1 to 10 scale is how you do that, and it is disarmingly simple. And if you're watching this thinking, I could use help on my entire sales conversation, book a strategy call with me. The link is below. Here is exactly how I use the 1 to 10 scale on a sales call. After I've conducted the needs analysis and determined if in fact I really can help this client, I will then review my offer. And of course, there's some back and forth and questions and all of that. I ensure that all questions are answered. And then what usually happens is I'll say, where do you want to go from here? And of course, the next question is, well, what is the investment? And this is what I say. I say, before discussing the investment, there's always one question that I really like to ask, and it helps me to get a sense of commitment. And that question is, on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being, oh my gosh, this feels absolutely right for me, and 0 being the opposite of that, where are you? And then I listen. And if it's anything less than an 8, my response is, Sharon, I would never ask anyone to invest when they're only feeling 50 or 60 or 70% confidence. Can you tell me what is in between the 5, 6, 7, whatever the number is she gave me, and the 10? And she tells me every time because I've created a safe, low pressure environment for her to tell me exactly what's holding her back. Now, if she had responded with an 8 or a 9, I would say, okay, can you share with me what's between the 8 and the 10? Because even an 8 means that there's something still there, and I want to know exactly what that is so that I can address it. And once I've done that, I will ask them again. So are we closer to a 10? And if they say yes, at that point, I will share with them the investment. That sequencing is everything because by the time price comes up, it is the last variable. It's not the first emotional reaction. Let me show you this in action with a real client situation. A client of mine named Kelly, and Kelly has an incredible background. She is a executive coach, an organizational consultant, Georgetown background. She was in the Navy, came to us. She wanted to take her business that she had recently started from about 88,000 to 400,000 in a few years. After I walked her through the program and answered any questions that she had, she asked about the investment, and I did the 1 to 10 scale. And she said she was a 6 or a 7. When I asked her why, she explained that she had recently built out a board of directors. And one of the women who sat on the board had scaled a business similar to hers to 7 figures. And so she was feeling that potentially this could be redundant and put too much on her own plate. Now, had I not done the 10 scale and I had just told her what the investment was for the program, Kelly probably would have said, "Great, let me think about it." And that would have been the end of the sales call because the advisor objection would never have surfaced. Instead, I asked her a second question. I said, "Kelly, on a scale of 0 to 10, and 10 being absolute confidence, how confident are you that your board can get you to 400,000 in a couple of years?" She said a 6 or a 7. And then, and this is key, she went on to say that the board of directors, while very good, she only met with once a quarter and that she knew them very well. So she wasn't sure that she was getting objective feedback from them, and that an external source with a systematic approach could, in fact, be very beneficial to her. She talked herself into the gap. I didn't have to convince her. I didn't have to sell against the board of directors. She saw it herself in real time, and the question gave her the space to think out loud. I checked back in and asked her if her 6 on joining the program had moved at all. And she said, "Absolutely. I am now a solid 8 or 9. And then I shared with her the investment and she enrolled on the spot. That is what a proactive sales conversation looks like. If you're recognizing yourself in Kelly's situation where you're not sure that the support that you have will get you to your goals, that's exactly the kind of conversation that I have on my complimentary strategy calls. And the link is below. Now, let me show you the most advanced application of this scale, because this next story takes it to somewhere most people don't even think to go. Kelly's story showed you how to use the 1 to 10 scale before sharing the investment. Christine's story is a little bit different after a near miss on a follow-up call when a prospect has had an opportunity to talk herself out of it. Christine was a 9 or a 10 on the initial sales call. And on the follow-up call, she was very gracious and she said, "Nadine, I've had an opportunity to take a look at the testimonials. I am so impressed with your program. However, I have decided not to move forward." I, of course, asked her to share her thinking with me. And on the previous call, she had told me that she was currently in a coaching program, but she was not getting the results. She felt like she was doing more of the coaching. It just wasn't working for her. And so she shared with me that she had a time to reflect on that and thought that, maybe she wasn't putting enough into the program and she wanted to give it another shot. She had also mentioned that the woman who was leading the coaching program that she was in was a very nice woman, and she was hesitant about giving her the news that she would be leaving the program. And this is when I use the 1 to 10 scale. I said, "Christine, if I can ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you are very confident, 1 being the opposite of that, how confident are you that the coaching program that you're in right now will get you the results that you're looking for?" She said a 2 or a 3. So then I asked her, "Christine, does it make sense to you that you continue to invest significant time and money into a program that you only have a 20 or 30% confidence will get you to where you want to go?" And of course, she said, "You're right, Nadine, it does not make sense." But we weren't done yet, because once she said yes, what surfaced was what was really beneath the objection to begin with. She was dreading the conversation that she would have to have with her current coach. So we worked through that together, and while it was going to be a difficult conversation, she owed it to herself and frankly to her business to do what was right. And honoring herself does not mean betraying someone else. That's the deepest power of this tool. It's not just helping people surface what they're thinking, but it also helps surface the emotions, the guilt, the frustration, the fear, whatever it may be, so that you can address it with compassion and not pressure. Christine said yes, not because of a clever phrase, but because of one simple question that really held up a mirror so that she could see the story that she was telling herself. So let me pull this together for you. The 1 to 10 scale has 3 distinct applications. Use 1 surfaces hidden objections before the investment starts to make noise. Use 2 exposes a gap that the prospect can't see without you having to argue for it. Use 3 collapses a false narrative respectfully, gently, and with just one single question. In every case, you're not selling. You are helping her think clearer than she can on her own. That's the softer side of sales. That's leadership. And by the way, if you're wondering if this works B2B, it absolutely does. In fact, I had a client several years ago who had brought me in because a lot of their financial advisors were spending a lot of time on the golf course and in restaurants without much to show for it. So we instituted the 1 to 5 scale and had the advisors ask their prospects on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being someday we will very likely be doing business together, 1 the opposite of that, where are you? And they were surprised by how many were 1s or 2s and were just enjoying the restaurants and the golf outings without any expectation of doing business. So the scale can be used in lots of different ways in different situations, both B2C and B2B. Here's what I want you to take away from today. The coaches that close consistently and do it without pressure, without pushing, and without feeling like a salesperson are those that lead. They create the conditions for an honest conversation. They help their prospects make a real decision instead of a polite exit. The 1 through 10 scale is how you do it. If you want to go deeper and take a look at how your sales conversations are serving you and where the leaks might be, schedule a call with me. I put aside a couple of complimentary calls a month, and we can take a look at exactly what your approach is and how you might benefit from an overall sales process. The link is below. And if you missed my last video about 3 phrases that you can use to save a failing sales call, take a look at that one next. And I will see you on the next one.